Hello and welcome. My name is John Mason, and welcome to the weekly reset. Bob and Mary have asked me to be the host of this meeting today. They are a little bit under the weather, and we have a great topic today. You are eternal. And the reason why this was selected, Bob is going to be doing some presentations about that throughout the month. And in fact, for those of you who don't know that or understand that you are eternal, Bob has got a new course beginning on September 5th, which is a Thursday, and he's going to be teaching a Zoom course from 11:30 in the morning till 1 o'clock, and that's Pacific time. It's going to be a 7-week course. I'm going to give you a few details in a minute, but if you wish to find out more about that or to sign up for that, you're going to go to bobtrask.com, find the information about upcoming classes and events, and sign up for it. My understanding is if you want to take the entire 7-week course, there's a fee of $200, both American and Canadian. And if you want to just come in for a single session, it would be $30, and you'll make those arrangements through bobtrask.com. The main resource for that course is going to be a book called After. After, if you want to grab a copy of that, it's by Bruce Greyson, and that's Greyson. Oh, he's already got it. There it is. Thank you, Chuck. Of course, we can't see you on the screen, Chuck, because we're doing a recording, but Chuck has the book, and it's pretty exciting. I know I have met Bruce Greyson through IONS, International Association of Near-Death Studies, and after Ken Moody wrote his book, Life After Life, which was a series of interviews with people who have had near-death experiences, other psychiatrists and researchers began interviewing people who have had near-death experiences. Now, how does that fit with today's topic? Another book that I also wanted to just show you, which has got a whole bunch of information and interviews, which is Life at Death by Ken Ring, has a whole bunch of other interviews with people who have near-death experiences. Bruce Greyson had then took that information, did a bunch of interviews, and has tried to make it relevant, how that information from those interviews apply to people's lives. And I'm going to be asking you some questions in a moment. Bruce Greyson does a great job of not only describing what happens to people who have had these experiences based on these multiple of interviews, but how it's changed them and their lives, which is what the topic for today is all about. Because you are eternal. If you don't really know that or appreciate that or want to think more about that, that's the beauty of Bob's upcoming 7-week course, because I think he can put that in perspective and give you the information and the wisdom that you need to understand your own immortality, if you will, or your own soul and spirit and its place in the eternal nature of the divine spirit. It's kind of scary. Let's just start the topic, because when you say you are eternal, well, I mean, what does that mean? And I, of course, went to the source, which is Google and all the definitions to find out what eternal or eternity is all about. And the first definition that I came up with was eternal or eternity is a state in which time, keyword, time has no application. Timelessness, the encounter between time and eternity. And if you are looking at it from a theological, I don't know if that means spiritual, but from a theological philosophy or point of view, Um, Eternity is the endless life after death. And they used the sentence, immortal souls destined for eternity. I I wonder about this because you almost can't define eternity without saying that's a very long time. I mean, it goes on like forever. Of course, I'm trying to be funny, um, but it's true. That's what eternity is all about. And the perspective that I have and I want to share with you today is that it's important for us to consider and then to perhaps know, really know, take into our soul and our being and our existence as human beings that our lives as humans are just one part of what our soul or spirit experience. So let's talk a little bit about time. Time has been constructed by humanity because the way human beings are, they have a limitation, three dimensions, if you will, of time and space. And it's part of the fun about coming back as a human being over and over again because we think and our minds operate within the limitation of being linear, which means we think that there's a beginning, we think that there is a middle or a present moment, and we think that there is a future. And whatever we've had in the past becomes a learning for us that is either positive or traumatic, and it carries into the present moment. But then, if we move towards the future of our being, there's a lot of anxiety because we pretend to not know what's coming up or what's going to happen to us. I say pretend because the future doesn't really exist, only the now. We also have to realize that our human lives are fragile because of this perspective. There is a time when we appear to be very young, we're newborn, we come in, we learn things, and we learn things by over and over experiencing things until we try to figure out how to do it. For example, riding a bicycle. You go back and you ride a bicycle, maybe you fall off, then you get back on, and then you eventually learn how to balance and you learn how to pedal and you learn how to steer, and hopefully you don't have an interaction with a cliff or a car, an automobile or truck or something, and we learn how to ride a bicycle and we can do that safely. And then it becomes a means of transportation or a means of exercise or a means of experiencing the world without the limitation of just walking or running places. So we have this learning dynamic, and we need that in our minds because we are going to learn from those experiences. The problem with it is there comes a time when the body, human bodies and our human drama, our character, our role that we're playing, it gets a little bit older, or maybe not, but it gets sick or has an accident and we die. Now, the mind and the ego and the body may be left behind because remember, matter is neither created nor destroyed, it just changes form. Energy probably is the same way. It's neither created nor destroyed, it just changes form. Our soul or our spirit, which is at our core, it continues. It doesn't go away. It just changes form. This is my perspective and my opinion. I think the 7-week course that Bob is going to be sharing with you gives a real foundation for that material about what happens when the body or the mind shut down or go away. Where do we go? What happens? And is it going to be something that's beautiful and peaceful and full of acceptance and understanding and unconditional love? My mind, yes. But we don't really know anything about death and dying because in my culture, I'll speak for my culture, we don't talk about death and dying. That ultimate transition for just ourselves in human form. It's kind of a secret. We kind of push it into the background. 100, 250 years ago, there was more of a ritual about understanding the transition and having people really honor it rather than just shipping some body from a hospital to a mortuary to and not having to deal with that. What is true for human beings more so now than ever before in our human history is that the things that we do not know or understand, the things that we have got experience with, produce for us uncertainty. We don't know where we're going. We have anxiety. We have fear. If we have those huge motivations of fear and anxiety, as many people do when their ego is fighting to survive or their mind and their body says, oh my gosh, if something happens to me, I won't be around anymore. It won't be, but our soul or our spirit, I believe, it's my perspective, continue. So I think that the work that Bruce Grayson did in his book After and the course that Bob's got coming up really helps people to understand when people have visited or gone forward and come back from near-death experiences and what that experience is. But today we're going to talk a little bit about, well, what does that information mean to us as individuals? So I'm going to ask you some questions. Maybe you've thought about these before. Maybe this is brand new to you, but it's important because if we are eternal, if our spirit and soul goes on, what does that mean for us as a human being? How does that change us? It's a really good question. We could talk about it, but each one of us in our own unique way may benefit from trying to understand what that is all about. How would it change your life? What would you be doing differently? For example, and this is again my words and my perspective, how would it change your perspective on the drama or the life that you're currently living? I say that because it's my belief, again, my perspective, that we come into this life to be challenged, to experience new things, to test maybe some of the strengths or the information that we have as a soul or a spirit. It might even change your life purpose to consider this because, in my opinion, our purpose is to come back and to bump into other people, to be of service, to find ways of interacting with life, with nature, definitely with other people as a learning experience for everyone involved. Are you going to be the listener and the witness? Or are you going to be the stand up in the front of the room trainer or teacher? Are you going to take the hands of people and ask them to move forward in their consciousness along the path of life? Or are you going to be the person who puts your hand out and are guided by a leader or by someone that you think or pretends to think that they're more advanced and that they're going to support you? You're also being a tremendous service by being a witness, by extending your hand and having other people or person or soul or spirit give you some guidance. When they offer that service to you, it's a benefit for them. It's a gift that you're giving them and a benefit to yourself. Getting back to the question of eternity. If we are eternal in life and spirit and soul, how does that change our attitude? Obviously, my opinion, we may have less fear. We may have less motivation by some of the weird traumas and amazingly upsetting things that can happen to us in life or that we witness either directly or through the media or through books or through some film or whatever. Emotionally, that changes. If we say we witness through one of the media or in person somebody passing away, and do we feel fear or sadness, or do we give them a pat on the back and say, "You lucky person, you don't have to do this anymore. You don't have to get up and go to the market, stand in line with people anymore. You're above that now." That, again, that's kind of my joke, but there's a benefit to not being embodied and having some of the pain and issues and flaws and weaknesses that we're all tested by as we live our lives in our own personal human dramas. Again, if we are eternal, how does that affect our relationships? I mean, some of us have been in singular relationships for years and years and years. We wouldn't know what to do if our partner left or died. I've had that experience. My partner of 30 years passed away, and I never really questioned it. I kind of understood stuff, but it's been a really important learning for me. It's changed my perspective, thinking that we had something that would last forever, and forever is a myth as far as the human drama, not as far as our soul or spirit. And I have experienced that soul or spirit of my partner, my wife, support me as I continue to stumble through my life and follow my pathway. In fact, it brought me to meet Bob Trask. It brought me to do things like hosting this program today. It's been a tremendous positive experience to be able to be of service, or to at least pretend in my own mind that I'm being of service by sharing some of the information or the guidance that comes through me. Life, if we're eternal and we're in our human drama, we get attached to things. We get attached to our lifestyle. We get attached to our relationships, to our job, to our belief system, even to our religion or philosophy. We get attached to things. And if we have the perspective that our soul or our spirit are eternal, we don't necessarily have the need for such a long-term attachment, because things change. We change. The world changes. It's wonderful that we have such a variety of experiences to move into and then through. And the last question related to that is, if you knew that your soul or your spirit continues and that you are eternal, how might that change your perspective on your purpose in this life? It's a huge question. I don't know that it can be easily answered or considered or talked about. I think we sometimes have to live that, but we do have a change in our attitude and our belief. If we believe that our spirit and our soul are eternal and we're a big part of the divine spirit and the higher realms, it can change the way we know that our never ending experience takes us out of the drama that we have as human beings, out of the fear and the anxiety of the what if, the unknowns. Again, I would say that the books that have been written from near with about interviews with near-death survivors offers perspective. But if you've ever had that experience yourself or actually talked to somebody who's had that experience, in the case of these books, maybe read about them. But even better, if you could look people in the eyes and you can see that they've changed and that one of the things that happens is that they come back with that gift of wisdom or experience that they're compelled to share. Yes, they want to make sure that they can share that with as many people as possible so it will change their perspective on whether they have fear or anxiety. Without that, we can move forward in our lives and we live in an entirely different way. I may be preaching to the choir because I don't know if you would even tune in to this presentation, the Zoom call or the videotape that we create and put up online for you. I don't even know if you would be participating in that if you weren't already like 1 foot into this philosophy. But we don't live it necessarily every moment of our existence. I mean, I could speak for myself. Even if I know that I am eternal, I still look at that guy in the morning and I'm scared because he's old, he's aging, he's changed. He doesn't quite have the time and the energy that he used to. And it creates a little bit of an upset. I don't know if it's fear or anxiety, but the change that my body is going through is something to consider. And yet, it doesn't change the fact that I can still be of service, maybe even more so now, or that I have more stories to tell, I have more wisdom to share, and I can reach around and grab the hands of people, either to help them move forward along their path or to have them help and assist me as I develop and I continue to learn and to grow. So let's get back to the topic again. You are eternal. And Bob Trask is looking for all of us to not only have that awareness, not only allow it to run through our minds and our consciousness, but to actually embed that and find out how that can change the way we live, the way we are in each and every present moment, and how that changes the way we interact with people. Guidance has shared many things with me, and one of the most important things to remember, and we don't necessarily appreciate that, is each one of us is equal. Each one of us is a miracle in our own way, playing as the human being and the character that we are in this human life. Each one of us is perfect. Each one of us is really a part of something much greater. We're all loved and accepted. And I think that we struggle with that because of our three-dimensional limitations. And yet, that perspective to consider and to find ways of living with that knowing or that perspective, it really enriches not only our lives, but the lives of everybody that we reach or touch or know or get a chance to share some relationship with. So I want to thank you for taking the time out of your morning. And for those of us that are on the Zoom call, we're going to have a chance to chat a little bit about this when the recording ends. But for those of you who are just tuning in, you're just watching the video, remember that you are a blessing. I encourage you to find your way to bobtrask.com and either be a participant in more of the weekly resets or the classes and the meditations that can be offered that can help support you so that you can continue to grow in consciousness and wisdom and really embellish the positive experiences that you can have in this life. So I want to thank you once again, and I'm going to wish that each and every one of you has an amazing day and an amazing week, and that you can each move forward with your consciousness. Each one of you is that blessing that I've already described. Thanks. My name is John Mason.